sometimes. So it was a long day, but that was the day that made it.
Yeah, that was what made the money.
That made your week. But we saw in the late 70s and early 80s, things changed pretty rapidly with the opening of Rivergate Mall in '71, and people's habits began to shift toward a mall environment. And at that time I was still very active in Gallatin and running the business, and this was when we began to look at ways in which we could keep Gallatin Square viable. And it was really important that Gallatin is one of the few county seat towns that has all four sides of the square still, in existence.
Yeah,
so,
we were just talking about that last week.
Yeah.
I remember when Broadway was built,
right.
and a lot of the places they moved over there on that street or in that vicinity, and Coons moved over there, Western Auto moved over there.
There's a drugstore over there.
Yes, there was a drugstore over there. And there for a few years, as things started moving out from the square, moving over to Broadway, it looked pretty dismal around here, like this ain't good. There was a lot of empty stores.
Well, that was why we started the Greater Gallatin effort, which is still in existence today, as a downtown organization that give the merchants or whoever was downtown, whether it be lawyers or whoever, hope that Gallatin Square could be a good place, to do business and to continue business. And businesses change. You have businesses coming in and businesses going out. That's a constant thing, and you know that from even if you observe in the malls. You have different things changing from time to time. So that's normal.
Very, very dynamic.
It's not that there's something wrong with Gallatin Square. It's just the normal process.
Yes.
And it kind of goes up and it goes down. But there was one thing that I was very interested in. I went over to Murfreesboro, and they had a community conference on how to restore or continue the viability of your downtowns. And the most important fact that came out of that to me was to make the place a people place. A place where people want to come, where people enjoy, visiting or going through the shops and taking their time, a place where they can relax. And I think that Gallatin has done an excellent job in the last few years of creating that type of atmosphere with the benches, the trees, the flowers, all of those things that make people want to come. So that when these folks that come from all over the country to retire in Gallatin or from other states to do business or new businesses such as the gun manufacturer that's coming into town, when these people come, they will enjoy the atmosphere and the ambience, of the square.
Well, there's so many of these that have gone by the wayside over the years.
Sure.
The small town squares have just died out.
Right.
And that's one thing. I'm so glad that the Greater Gallatin and those groups and preservation groups that we have that have kept some of these older houses from just being demolished. I hated it when the old Genesco building was torn down. I thought that was the neatest building.
Well, there are times, and it's a very frustrating thing to I can remember when our church, I was a member of First Baptist Church, and when the church decided to take down Howard School, that was where I spent many years in school.
And there for 3 years, first, second, and third grade.
Right, and so it was hard to realize, though, after they closed the school, they made no preparations to preserve the building. And when we went in to try to make the building work, it was full of asbestos. It was leaking. There was water going all the way from the very roof down to the basement, and it was flooded in the basement, and it would have cost millions of dollars that the church didn't have.
It's been way more cost prohibitive to try to save it.
Try to save that building.
Yeah.
But this is part of the process of towns. There are things that you can do, and when it's possible to do it, like jump on it and do try it, just to save some of the flavor of the town. Because each town is somewhat unique because the unique buildings, the unique architecture of the period, or whatever it may be. And this was what Greater Gallatin was looking at. We were the first of the 5 Tennessee towns to join the Main Street program. And I think, although we've still had some ups and downs, but over the years it has paid off.
Yes, I agree. You're correct.
We don't have the department stores anymore because that's a different world, but you can have the smaller shops, the specialty shops that focus on something and can do quite well. Now, I know when all of this construction was going on out here, it was hard for them to survive, and some didn't, you know.
We talked about that last week also, but I think, like you said, it has paid off.
Yeah, and it will, because when future things come in, I think if they are able to get that focus and be something special, that'll bring somebody in, you know, whether it be good food, or whether it be entertainment, or whether it be something to sell.
Well, creatures of habit, and you know, people get used to one thing, they're not too keen on change, and you know, it's tough sometimes to change, and but overall, I think it has paid off. Like you said, we do have a beautiful downtown square with benches and trees, and landscaping, and walkways, and the pavers. And it's really been a big asset for the town itself. It was hard. It was hard for the people when they were doing sidewalks in front of their buildings and things like that. It made it hard for them to, you know, still conduct business, but the contractors worked as best as they could, you know, to make it as easy on them as they could and still get the job done. And it worked out great. I love the downtown. And I'm glad to see stuff even in the evening time, you know, when the pizza machine over there is on Tuesday nights, you know, they have Marshall and his band, they play, and then they have people that come in, just show up.
Right.
And also play, and you know, there's quite a few cars right here in the downtown area at nighttime. That's you know, really gives people a place to go.
Yeah, that's making it a people place.
Yeah, and it brings in a lot of talent.
I remember, of course, one of the greatest assembly of people on the square was when Frank Fleming was running for governor, and he kicked off his campaign on the square here in Gallatin, right in this corner over here. And that was where, if anyone was wanting Sumner County votes, they came to the Gallatin Square and had either, you know, had their say on the square or kicked the campaigns off. I know that Frank Clement started his campaign there, and I believe Governor Dunn also
that's right.
started his campaign here on the corner of Gallatin Square. It's interesting that they chose Gallatin as the town to pick it up.